Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. So before I get started, I want to point out something. I started up an Instagram account where I'm going to be showing off a lot of records. Pretty much what I'm doing in these videos, just in a smaller scale, you know, just posting pictures of stuff. If you want to follow me there, I have a link to it in the description. And on top of that, I'm going to be doing this video a little bit differently today. Instead of just showing off a bunch of random records, I'm going to be showing off records from one particular artist, one of my all-time favorite artists. And it is the tallest man on earth. If you don't know him, he is a folk musician, started making music back in, I think, when did this come out? I think he started making music back in like 2006. I think this came out in around 2008. I could be wrong on that though. Yeah, 2008. And he's from Sweden, but sings and writes in English. Writes all his stuff in his second language, which is English. And he is one of the most talented songwriters, or at least folk musicians out there today. And I adore all of his music. I think he's a wonderful, wonderful musician. I just saw him in concert, which kind of prompted me to make this video. So, yeah, I'll just start getting into his music. His first record here, this is called Shallow Grave. Like I said, came out in 2008. This is before he was on Dead Oceans, where he is still, I believe he's still on that label, as of right now. This is great. He had one EP before this, which I've been looking for on vinyl, haven't found yet. I might just get it off Discogs at some point. But this has a lot of his classics on there, and really like established him as a folk musician, and really established his sound, what he was going for. Very lo-fi recordings, very frail, skeletal music, very excellent, like very impressive guitar playing. These just like wailing, passionate vocals, kind of like if Bob Dylan was yelling. You'll hear me mention Bob Dylan. You'll hear me mention Bob Dylan a lot in this video. You can compare him to Bob Dylan a lot. This record here has a lot of his like classic tracks on it. Things like I Won't Be Found, The Gardener, which is probably his most popular track across his career. Has This Wind, which is just a personal favorite of mine. Yeah, it has a lot of really good songs on here. I believe the record is on like a cloudy, creamy little white. You can't see it, but there's like some nice like cloudy yellow marbling in there. It's a really good record. Nice pressing. But yeah, if you want to get into him, I'd say that's probably the best place to start. Really, like, gives you a feel for what he's kind of doing. All the songs are very catchy, too, which is really nice. For something so skeletal and so, I don't know, just kind of, like, distant and, like, complicated in terms of his playing, he has a great ear for melody, and it displayed very well on this album. Alright, and I'm going to be doing this kind of, like, in chronological order. So, the next one, the clear transition, would be his second album, The Wild Hunt. This is one of my all-time favorite albums, period. It's very similar in sound to his first album. The production is a bit better. There's some other instruments thrown in the mix. Like, you can occasionally hear like a banjo or a second guitar in the background. There's a track on here that's only piano. But yeah, he's experimenting a bit more. He's pushing his sound forward on this album, and he does a brilliant job of it. His ear for melody is even stronger. Like I said, the production's better. And just every single song on here is so memorable and beautiful. Wild Hunt, Burden of Tomorrow, You're Going Back, The Drying of the Lawns, King of Spain, Love Is All, which is my all-time favorite Tallest Man on Earth song. If you want to get into this guy, listen to Love Is All. That song breaks my heart and makes me tear up. A Lion's Heart, Kids on the Run. Just so many beautiful, beautiful tracks on here. And like I said, a lot of times he gets that Bob Dylan comparison. Beautiful, like, blue record here. And this is really kind of where it comes off. It really sounds like early Bob Dylan. Like, it sounds like The Times They Are A-Changin' Bob Dylan, which is my all-time favorite Bob Dylan record. So it makes sense why I would love this record so much. He even references that record on the song King of Spain. He talks about Boots of Spanish Leather, which is a track on that album. and just, oh my god, I know every word to every song on this album. It's so just gorgeous, and it brings back such good memories, and I'm in love with this album and this man, just in general. Oh, by the way, his real name is where the hell did it go? Hold on. Where's his name? Kristian Matsson. Kristian Matsson, I believe how you pronounce that. All right, next one. His EP. Sometimes the Blues is Just a Passing Bird. Sounds very similar to The Wild Hunt. Probably a lot of tracks that just didn't make it onto the final cut of the album. But that's not to say that this needs to get thrown aside, because all the tracks on here are excellent. There's not a single bad track on here. And it contains one of his most famous tracks, which is The Dreamer. And also shows him starting to bring more instruments into the mix. A lot of these tracks are just like simple acoustic, as he usually does, finger-picked style. But The Dreamer, he brings in electric guitar, which at this point he really hadn't done much of that at all. It was usually just acoustic guitar, banjo, maybe mandolin, I don't know. But just like, yeah, it was a different sound for him. And now it's become one of his most recognizable songs. And for good reason. It's a gorgeous track. Yeah, there's not much to say about this one. Pretty much all the tracks are good. Just listen to this. Maybe another good place to start with him, because it's just a short record, but, you know, gives you a good feel for what he's doing. Record's just on black, I believe. Yeah, just on black, so, yeah. Excellent album. Or EP, I should say. Alright, next one we got. This is his third album. And it is There's No Leaving Now. This is an interesting record for him, because this came after, you know, The Wild Hunt and Sometimes the Blues is Just a Passing Bird, which were very skeletal records as people associated with him at the time. And this is the record where he really started to incorporate more instruments. This is the first time he really started doing that. And he did it very well on this album. Tracks like To Just Grow Away and 1904 have a little bit of like electric guitar worked in there. Tracks like, which one is it now? Bright Lanterns has some slide guitar in there. There's more piano tracks. But he never like loses that beautiful, passionate, tender feel that you got with his other records, that because of how skeletal and quiet they were. You don't really lose that on this album, which is great. And again, he has some of his best songs on here. Revelation Blues, There's No Leaving Now, the title track. Criminals, On Every Page, 1904. I think this one's just on black as well. It's just so cool to see him, just as his career goes on, you can hear him progressing in his albums and hear him experimenting and trying new things. Again, just black. Yeah, so this was a wonderful, wonderful album. Next thing I'm going to show you, a little simple thing here. Just a little 7-inch. This is from the track 1904, which is off of that last album I just showed you. There's no Leaving Now. One of the better tracks on that album, and it's cool to have it on a single. And the B-side is also really beautiful. The B-side is Cycles, track all about like life moving on and the seasons and all that kind of stuff. Think like The Circle Game by Joni Mitchell, but like same themes, just different track. But yeah, this is again just black vinyl, nothing special, but found it, thought I'd grab it because it's one of my personal favorite tracks of his. Alright, next thing I got, his most recent full-length album, not like EP or like demos or anything like that, full-length. Dark Bird Is Home. This is his worst album, I would say. I remember when it first came out, I was super disappointed in it. And I listened to it a couple times and I was just like, it's just not, I'm not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it. And I eventually just kind of threw it to the side. Later on, maybe probably like a year later, I listened to it again, and for some reason, right then, it clicked. I don't get exactly why that is, but got a nice insert of lyrics. I don't know why it took that long for it to work, but while it's still not my favorite of his, there's a lot of tracks on here that I just think are wonderful. And a nice white vinyl with some black marbling in there. Can't really see it very well in the camera, but yeah, it's not like a clean white or anything like that. But after listening to this for a while, you can just... There's some tracks that just feel like the old stuff and still have that vibe. And the reason why I'm not a fan of this is because he did kind of the same thing he did with There's No Leaving Now, where he added in a lot of new instrumentation and layered some stuff in to make the songs sound more... sound deeper and more progressive. Or not progressive, but like... have more sound to them, I guess you could say. But I think he went a little bit too far on this one. Because on There's No Leaving Now, all that extra instrumentation is mixed very far in the back, and everything just kind of comes together very dreamily. In this one, there's no real dream state. There's no leaving anything up to the imagination. It really, like, is up front. The horns, the strings, the background vocals, the electric guitar, the acoustic guitar. Like, you get everything, and it kind of takes away that tenderness that was so prominent on all of his other albums. And while you still get that with a couple of tracks like... let me put this back real quick. You got tracks like Singers, Little Nowhere Towns, and Beginners, where you still get that feel. You still get, like, you know, you still get that, oh, it's like sitting by a campfire or something like that. But for the most part, a lot of the tracks are a bit louder, kind of blown out. And it doesn't work all the time, but still, I don't, as of now, I don't think it's a bad album. I still am very happy that I have it, and it's still a good listen. So yeah, and the last thing I have is this little EP he released, I believe last year, I want to say, like 2017? Maybe 2016? I'm not sure, it doesn't say on the thing, but this is 5 tracks, and it's him working with yMusic, and it's reworks of some of his like classic tracks off of, like, you know, Wild Hunt, There's No Leaving Now. Yeah, just those 2 albums, and there's a Joan Baez cover on here. But what he reworks them with this band yMusic, and puts a lot of like strings and horns over them, which is funny because on Dark Bird Is Home, when he did that, it didn't work. It really just didn't mix well with his sound. But on this, it actually sounds really nice. And I think that might be because there isn't a lot of percussion. The tracks on Dark Bird Is Home sound a bit more rock-ish, and these sound just like quiet, serene, beautiful. The percussion really comes out of, like, say, the guitar or something like that. Yeah, because I don't think there's any drum players on this. Yeah, they got violin, viola, clarinet, bass clarinet, flutes, vocals, trumpet, French horn. Yeah, there's no percussion on this album. But he reworks "Love Is All," which he does. It's not as good as the original version, but it's still pretty. And I believe just white 10-inch, or not white, black 10-inch. Just nothing special. It's actually worth a little bit now, which is shocking. I didn't think that would be the case. But yeah, not an essential for, you know, your Tallest Man on Earth collection. I don't know how many people actually have that, but I do. You definitely don't need this, but it's still a decent listen. Cool to see these tracks in a different light. But yeah, I think that's everything. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you check out The Tallest Man on Earth, because I think he's incredible. And I hope you have a wonderful day.